Hello everyone, this is Jack Frost with your weekly update for the Ethereum Technicals and XRP. For the Ethereum Technicals, price has increased for the last few weeks with some quite strong bullish candlesticks here, after a previous consolidation period between resistance, now support at 2800 and support around 2400. If you remember from some previous videos, I mentioned quite a bit that this low may be sustained if we had a break above 2800 with push from volume, which we had a couple of weeks ago, which supports our Elliott Wave count, which you can see if you sign up for that at pureelliottwave.com using the link in the description below, as I mention in pretty much every video. Since price has moved up, it is finding resistance for the very short term around resistance at 3580. Volume shows strongest support for upwards movement, particularly on the break above resistance, now support at 2800 as previously mentioned, though a decline for the last completed week may see some slight weakness in very short-term upwards movement, which I will get to a little bit on the daily chart. ADX declines at the weekly time frame, showing no clear trend. On balance, volume has broken above prior resistance, now support, as it found support just here. It is now moving above very steeply. ATR has declined as price consolidated previously, though it continues to decline as price increases for the short term, giving a bearish outlook for volatility for the short term. And as ADX declines for Ethereum at the weekly time frame, we use the model of stochastics and support and resistance. Though as always, we do prefer the daily time frame for short-term price fluctuations, at this weekly time frame, the model of stochastics plus support and resistance suggests an upward swing may continue a little bit higher towards resistance up at 3580 or potentially up to 4130, where price finds that resistance point and stochastics enters fully overbought. On the technical daily chart for Ethereum, we can see a little bit more detail for the upwards movement for this last bullish swing, where price has moved above prior resistance, now support at 3200 for the short term. Volume overall supports upwards movement at this point with a push on these various bullish candlesticks, though for the midterm, strongest volume on this bearish candlestick just here sees strongest support for downwards movement. ADX continues to increase with a bullish trend that is extreme, though it is not yet very extreme and not in danger of ending at this point. As is common for cryptocurrencies, particularly with Ethereum, these trends can continue to where they reach very extreme conditions and may remain in very extreme conditions before they may be in danger of ending. Some history with ADX and prices movement just here. We can see, particularly in August 2020, this bullish trend indicated reached very extreme and then remained where price remained above 55 for quite a little bit. Price reaching very extreme again here just before December 2020, remaining very extreme in January 2021, entering very extreme again in May 2021. An example with that in a bearish trend between June and July 2022, entering very extreme again in January 2023, entering quite deeply into very extreme territory in November 2023. Again in March 2024, remaining well above 55 for quite a little bit before it began to decline. And so with that history between ADX and price, we can see that this trend may continue to where ADX reaches very extreme conditions, and it may remain in very extreme conditions for quite a little bit before it may be in danger of ending at the daily time frame. On balance, volume is previously within a narrowing range, though it has currently broken above resistance and failed to find support at prior resistance. On balance, volume currently moves within a widening range, giving no signal, though it does just react to resistance here. With this tight range at this point, this gives some decent technical significance and may provide a significant breakout over the week, so you can be sure to watch on balance volumes action within this range over the coming week. RSI is neutral, having just returned from overbought here. Money flow also neutral, having returned from overbought, though it did not enter as deeply overbought as RSI has. Additionally, neither RSI or money flow exhibit divergence. ATR steadily increases along with price on the daily time frame, giving a bullish outlook for volatility. And as previously mentioned, with the history for ADX and prices movement, this trend may continue to where ADX reaches very extreme conditions, while RSI and money flow may enter overbought again, may enter more deeply overbought and or exhibit some divergence before the trend may be in danger of ending. Please note that for Ethereum, we do place a lot of value on our Elliott Wave count, and so you can sign up for that today, as I previously mentioned on the weekly chart at pureelliottwave.com using the link in the description below. On the XRP weekly chart, this wave count seeing primary wave 3 continuing upward, currently within intermediate and minor third waves. Within minor wave 3, minute wave 1 is labeled complete at this last high just here, with minute wave 2 now expected to continue lower. It has these three potential targets. The first target at the 0.236 logarithmic Fibonacci ratio of minute wave 1 at 1.19. Below that, the 0.382 logarithmic Fibonacci ratio of minute wave 1 at 0.98. And below that, the 0.618 logarithmic Fibonacci ratio of minute wave 1 at 0.71. As price continues, we will use these targets as potential support and resistance. And as minute wave 2 continues, it cannot move below the start of minute wave 1 at 0.4322. An acceleration channel is drawn around the current upwards movement for minor wave 3 from the end of minor wave 1 to the last high just here, with a copy on the end of minor wave 2. This channel is going to keep being redrawn as minor wave 3 continues upwards, and when minor wave 3 is labeled complete, it will be relabeled an Elliott channel, then drawn using Elliott's first technique. As minute wave 2 continues lower, it may find support at the lower edge of this acceleration channel. With minor wave 3 overall continuing higher, it has a target calculated at 3.77, which is the 4.236 Fibonacci ratio of minor wave 1. And above that, intermediate wave 3 continuing higher has a target calculated at 6.51 using the 2.618 Fibonacci ratio of intermediate wave 1. Above that, primary wave 3 has a target calculated at 28.84 using the 14.72 ratio of primary wave 1. And primary wave 3 may end in November 2025, lasting a duration Fibonacci 3 years. Please note that as these waves continue upwards, particularly at minor and intermediate degrees, the targets may need to be recalculated with price's continued movement. And this low with the end of minor wave 2 on the weekly chart. As this low here on the daily chart, we can see more detail for the upwards movement of minute wave 1, an Elliott channel drawn around its minuet degree movements. Minute wave 1 is labeled an impulse as it is the most common corrective structure and has the best fit. And this Elliott channel is drawn using Elliott's first technique from the end of minuet wave 1 to the end of minuet wave 3 with a copy on the end of minuet wave 2. This channel may provide support for minute wave 2 as it continues lower. We have the same targets here as you saw on the weekly chart for minute wave 2. And as minute wave 2 continues lower, it is currently expected to be a single zigzag as it is the most common corrective structure. And so within a single zigzag, any B wave corrective movement cannot move above the start of the A wave at 1.6340. Which is the start of minute wave 2. If price does continue above this point, then it is possible that minute wave 1 may be incomplete, or it is possible that minute wave 2 may be an expanded flat or triangle. And so if price does continue above this point, the wave count will be relabeled, particularly at minute degrees. On the technical weekly chart for XRP, these last couple of weeks have some very strong bullish movement, moving above almost all prior resistance points, the highest resistance points at 1.340 and 1.200. The only other highest resistance point is 2.0, which is just a little bit above the chart here. And so above that point, if price does break above this resistance point at 2.0 with continued upwards movement, we can look for further resistance points at round numbers. Strongest volume is on the bullish candlesticks, particularly this most recent bullish candlestick here, as price has broken above prior resistance, now support at 1.340 as you previously saw. This shows very strong support for upwards movement from volume. ADX increases with a bullish trend that is in its early stages and not yet in danger of ending. As ADX increased from a low point and below both DX lines, it gives the strongest bullish signal it can, supporting the Elliott wave count, which sees the overlapping third waves, particularly at primary and intermediate degrees, to continue higher. On-balance volume has broken above this previous increasingly narrow range, giving a strong bullish signal. RSI is quite deeply overbought, though it does not exhibit any divergence at this point. Money flow is overbought, though it can reach more deeply overbought, and money flow does not exhibit any divergence either. ATR had a slight bullish slope previously, though it has shot up quite recently with price's strong bullish movement, giving a bullish outlook for volatility. And as this trend indicated by ADX is not yet extreme and not in danger of ending, it does expect price to continue upwards. The trend may continue to where ADX reaches extreme or very extreme conditions, while RSI and money flow may enter more deeply overbought and or exhibit some divergence before the trend may be in danger of ending. At the weekly time frame, this supports the Elliott wave count. On the technical daily chart for XRP, we can see a little bit more detail for the strong increase in price very recently, currently moving around support prior resistance at 1.34. Volume supports upwards movement overall with the strongest volume on these bullish candlesticks just here. As price continues a little bit lower for the very short term, volume steeply declines, showing some weakness in downwards movement as price falls of its own weight. ADX now declines, having previously entered and remained very extreme with an extreme bullish trend. As ADX declines, it may indicate a deeper corrective movement to relieve these very extreme conditions. ATR has steadily and steeply increased along with price, giving a very bullish outlook for volatility. And as ADX declines at the daily time frame, we use the model of stochastics in support and resistance. This model suggests a downward swing may occur at this point, potentially towards support down at 0.8 where price finds that support point, while stochastics may enter oversold. This supports the Elliott wave count, seeing a corrective movement to be in its beginning stages at this point. That's all for me with your weekly update for Ethereum and XRP. As always, if you do want the Ethereum Elliott Wave count, we have done an update for that today. You can sign up for that at pureelliottwave.com using the link in the description below. Thank you, and I hope everyone has a good week.